Today we are here to explain cryptocurrency called SUI. After the video ends, you will have a full understanding of why SUI is within top 15 cryptocurrencies in terms of market cap value. And don't worry, even if you are a complete beginner, you will be able to follow because every video on Bitcoin Academy is 100% beginner friendly. To kick things off, let's address the core question. What exactly is SUI? And why has it become one of the most talked about blockchains in crypto today? SUI, pronounced SUI, is a layer 1 blockchain built from the ground up for performance, simplicity, and real usability, especially when it comes to creating fast, fluid applications. While most popular chains are still struggling with slow confirmation times, rising gas fees, and overly complex development environments, SUI aims to flip that script entirely. What makes it stand out is its mission, to provide a user experience that feels as smooth and intuitive as today's web apps, while keeping the benefits of decentralization under the hood. Whether it's sending crypto, interacting with games, or running decentralized finance apps, SUI wants to make all of it fast, cheap, and frictionless. But it's not just about speed and cost. SUI also introduces a new way of thinking about assets and interactions through something called an object-based model. Unlike Ethereum, where you mostly interact with account balances and smart contract logic, SUI treats every asset, even a single NFT or coin, as a programmable object with its own rules. This opens up design space for developers and offers new levels of flexibility that other chains can't replicate easily. And while other networks require complex back-end management just to keep things running, SUI has been optimized from day one for scalability and ease of use. That combination of power and approachability is why it's getting attention, not just from crypto insiders, but from developers and businesses looking to build fast consumer-grade apps. So, if you're wondering why SUI jumped so quickly into the top 15 cryptocurrencies by market cap, this is the foundation of its appeal, a sleek, developer-first blockchain ready for mainstream use. Now that we know what SUI is aiming to do, it's important to understand who's behind it, because the team matters more than most people think. SUI was created by Mysten Labs, a company founded by a group of engineers who previously worked at Meta, formerly Facebook, specifically on the company's ambitious blockchain project known as Diem. These aren't newcomers to Web3. They're some of the most battle-tested minds in the space, with years of experience building scalable, user-focused technology. Their work at Meta included contributions to the Move programming language, which was originally designed for Diem and has since been adapted and improved for SUI. Move itself is a major part of SUI's DNA. It allows for more secure and flexible smart contract development compared to Ethereum's Solidity. But what really makes Mysten Labs stand out is how they've approached building SUI, with a relentless focus on performance, developer experience, and usability. Co-founder Evan Chang, a respected engineering leader in both Web 2 and Web 3 circles, has emphasized from the start that SUI isn't just about theoretical improvements. It's about creating infrastructure that people can actually use. This pedigree has helped attract major funding from top-tier investors like A6Z and Coinbase Ventures, giving the project both credibility and runway. In a space often filled with anonymous devs or meme-driven founders, SUI's team presents a rare combination: deep technical expertise, strong public accountability, and a track record of delivering real infrastructure. And that's exactly why builders and users alike are watching them closely. Because when you combine this kind of talent with a clear product vision, the result is often something that truly shifts the game. So now that we've covered what SUI is and who built it, the next logical question is how it actually compares to existing giants like Ethereum and Solana. At first glance, SUI might seem like just another high-speed blockchain, but under the hood, it's taking a radically different approach. Most blockchains follow a traditional structure. A single global consensus handles all transactions, from the smallest token transfer to the most complex smart contract execution. That works, but it creates a bottleneck. Ethereum, for example, prioritizes decentralization and security, but often at the cost of speed and affordability. Solana tries to solve this with a more aggressive consensus model and parallel processing, but even that hits congestion during peak times. SUI, on the other hand, rethinks the entire transaction model by separating simple operations from complex ones. It doesn't apply full consensus to every action. Instead, SUI distinguishes between simple transfers and complex interactions. The simple stuff, like sending tokens or NFTs, doesn't go through the full consensus path and can be confirmed almost instantly. This innovation gives SUI a unique edge. It's lightning fast for everyday use cases while still secure for high-stakes interactions. Think of it like a traffic system, with express lanes for lightweight cars and dedicated lanes for heavier vehicles. This isn't just a technical gimmick. It's a core architectural shift designed to scale the blockchain without sacrificing usability. And because SUI leverages the Move language to handle assets more flexibly, it allows developers to build applications that feel like web apps, not crypto experiments. That's what really sets SUI apart. Instead of trying to patch up existing limitations, it started from scratch with a new model for how transactions should work. And that bold decision could be what defines its future. Now that we've looked at how SUI rethinks blockchain design, it's time to explore its key innovation, parallel execution. This isn't just a technical term, it's the core reason why SUI is so fast. On most blockchains like Ethereum, transactions are processed one at a time, even if they have nothing to do with each other. It's like having one checkout line at a grocery store, even if 10 people are buying completely different items. SUI fixes that by analyzing which transactions are independent and letting them run side by side. That means your game move, someone else's NFT mint, and a third person's coin transfer can all be confirmed at the same time, with no collisions. This is made possible through SUI's unique object-centric model, where every asset on the blockchain is treated as its own object with specific ownership. If no two transactions touch the same objects, they can be executed in parallel. The result? A massive speed boost and far fewer delays, even when the network is busy. It's also great for app developers, who no longer have to design around long confirmation times or risk congestion during spikes. This design makes SUI particularly suited for high-volume environments like gaming, real-time payments, and social apps, things traditional chains often struggle with. And while parallelism isn't new in computer science, SUI is the first major blockchain to apply it at this level of efficiency. With this capability baked into the protocol itself, SUI isn't just fast, it's built for scale. So when users say transactions just work, it's not magic, it's smart architecture. And the next logical question is, how can it afford to be so fast and still stay cheap? That's exactly where we're heading next. Following directly from its speed advantage, SUI's ability to maintain ultra-low fees is just as critical, especially for real-world applications where every cent counts. On legacy chains like Ethereum, every transaction competes in an open market where users bid for block space. During periods of high demand, fees can skyrocket to several dollars or more per transaction. SUI avoids this through several clever mechanisms. First, its parallel execution model reduces congestion. With more transactions processed at once, there's less competition for inclusion. Second, SUI doesn't force all activity through consensus. Basic operations, like transferring a token or updating a game item, are validated locally and instantly, without touching the entire network. This cuts down on computation and storage costs, which keeps transaction pricing stable and predictable. Third, SUI's architecture is highly optimized for data storage. It uses a technique called versioned object storage, where only changes are tracked, not full rewrites. This drastically reduces the amount of data stored on-chain and lightens the load on validators. The result is a chain that's not just fast, but extremely cost-efficient. In many cases, users pay fractions of a cent, making microtransactions, in-game economies, and tipping entirely feasible. That's a huge shift from chains where the fee can cost more than the transaction itself. For developers, it removes a major UX barrier. No more warning users about high gas fees or explaining why simple actions cost real money. In SUI's design, affordability isn't just a perk, it's a priority. That's why it's gaining traction with developers focused on mobile-first experiences, especially in emerging markets where every penny matters. And this combination of speed and affordability brings us to the heart of the question: what can you actually do with SUI? That's what we'll explore next. After hearing about SUI's architecture and speed, it's only natural to wonder, what's it actually good for in practice? The truth is, SUI was built from the ground up to support next-generation applications that need both speed and responsiveness. And that's exactly what makes it ideal for things like games, real-time apps, and microtransactions. Most blockchains today can't handle this kind of activity without clogging up or driving fees through the roof. But SUI, with its unique transaction model and parallel execution engine, was designed specifically to meet those demands. Imagine playing a blockchain-based game where your character picks up an item, upgrades a skill, or trades with another player. And all of that happens in real time without waiting for long confirmations or burning gas. That's the level of interactivity SUI wants to enable. It's not just theory either. Early developers are already building apps on SUI that feel more like traditional Web 2 experiences. Think swipe, tap, respond, but fully backed by decentralized infrastructure. The same goes for NFTs. Instead of being static collectibles, NFTs on SUI can act like dynamic objects with real behavior, which opens the door to far more immersive apps. Micropayments are also a natural fit, since SUI's low fees and fast confirmation make it possible to pay tiny amounts, whether for a single article, song, or API call, something most other chains simply can't support efficiently. So what can you actually do on SUI? The better question might be, what can't you do? It's one of the few platforms right now where developers aren't constrained by infrastructure. They're enabled by it. Now that we've explored what SUI can do, it's time to look at one of the most talked about features that makes it truly unique. It's object-based design. Unlike traditional blockchains that are built around account balances, SUI treats everything on-chain as an object. That means your wallet doesn't just hold coins, it holds individual objects like tokens, NFTs, game items, or even programmable assets, each with its own logic and properties. This is a big shift from the Ethereum-style model, where contracts handle most of the behavior and users interact indirectly through function calls. In SUI, objects themselves carry data and can be owned, transferred, or mutated directly, much like items in a video game inventory. This gives developers an enormous amount of flexibility, especially when designing interactive applications. Imagine building a game where each sword, character, or potion isn't just a token ID on a smart contract. It's an object with its own identity, stats, and logic, and all of that lives natively on-chain. It makes things like upgrades, trades, and interactions way more intuitive to program and manage. This design also leads to a cleaner development experience and better performance, since you don't always need to involve the whole network to update a single object. You can interact with it directly if it's owned by one account, making apps feel faster and more responsive. Developers from traditional software backgrounds especially find this model familiar and powerful, as it aligns closely with modern programming paradigms. It's one of the key reasons why SUI is getting attention not just from crypto-native devs, but also from builders who've worked at top tech companies and want a blockchain that feels like something they already understand. In a sea of blockchains trying to fix legacy issues, SUI's object model might just be its most revolutionary idea yet. Now, while SUI's tech is impressive, there's a question that keeps coming up in conversations around its legitimacy. How decentralized is it, really? The answer, at least for now, is not fully. As of 2025, SUI is still very much under the leadership of Mysten Labs, the original creators of the protocol. Validator selection is limited, and while the network does include multiple parties running nodes, it's far from a fully permissionless or community-run chain like Ethereum. This has sparked concern among decentralization purists who argue that without broad validator participation and more distributed governance, SUI risks becoming just another corporate-controlled blockchain. Critics also note that the token distribution was heavily weighted toward insiders and early backers, which could give a small group significant influence over future decisions. That said, Mysten Labs has made public commitments to decentralize the network over time, including plans to open up validator onboarding, delegate more governance to token holders, and create systems that make it harder for any single entity to dominate. The challenge, of course, is that decentralization takes time and incentives have to align correctly. And for a chain focused on performance and user experience, decentralization sometimes takes a back seat early on. The question is whether SUI will follow through on its roadmap to hand over control or remain largely centralized in practice, even if not in name. For users, the trade-off is clear. Today, you get a smooth and powerful network, but one that still relies on the original team's oversight. Whether that changes, and how quickly, could determine how seriously SUI is taken as a true Web3 platform in the years ahead. Before we wrap up, it's important to step back and look at the risks that come with SUI, because no blockchain, no matter how fast or shiny, is perfect. One of the biggest concerns is how new it is. SUI officially launched in May 2023, which means it hasn't faced the kind of battle testing that Ethereum or even Solana has endured. That short track record makes some developers and investors nervous, especially when you consider how often new chains stumble in their early years. Then there's the complexity of the technology itself. SUI uses the Move programming language, a powerful but unfamiliar system to most Web3 developers, especially those coming from Solidity. While it offers strong security and flexibility, it also has a learning curve that may slow adoption. The object-based model, while revolutionary, introduces a new mental model that isn't immediately intuitive to those used to account-based blockchains. Another major concern is the size and maturity of the ecosystem. As of now, SUI still has a limited number of applications, relatively low TVL, total value locked, and hasn't yet established a dominant niche like gaming or DeFi. That makes it vulnerable to shifts in developer interest or user migration. Add to that the fact that it's not yet fully decentralized, and you start to see a platform with a lot of promise, but also a lot of what-ifs. Will developers stick with it long enough to grow the ecosystem? Will the team behind it successfully hand off control? Can the technology scale without running into the kinds of congestion or governance issues we've seen on other chains? These are questions that will define SUI's future. And for anyone thinking about building or investing in the ecosystem, they're worth keeping front of mind. And now we've arrived at the real question. Could SUI be a game changer? Or is it just another fast chain with a cool pitch? The answer depends entirely on whether it can actually deliver on its ambitious promises. At its core, SUI aims to do something few other chains have even tried. Make Web3 apps feel like Web 2. That means instant responsiveness, smooth interfaces, and zero fear about transaction delays or high fees. If it pulls that off, it could finally unlock the next wave of crypto adoption, bringing in millions of users who don't care about decentralization or consensus models, but just want to use apps that work. The object-based design could enable entire categories of apps we haven't seen yet, not just better games or NFT marketplaces, but also real-time finance tools, social platforms, and immersive digital economies. SUI's team, built from ex-Meta and DM engineers, has the experience to tackle both scalability and user onboarding at a high level. And its unique consensus system, which skips unnecessary steps for simple transactions, could prove more efficient than anything currently on the market. But the keyword here is if. If SUI continues decentralizing, if developers actually build on it, if it gains traction outside of early hype cycles. The potential is real. This isn't a meme coin story, but it still has to navigate a competitive landscape full of other L1s, evolving regulation, and fast-moving trends. Still, if you're watching for the next big leap in blockchain usability, SUI is a name you'll want to remember. It might not be the final version of Web3, but it could be the first chain to make it truly usable for everyone. And I am happy to inform you that you made it to the very end, but stay a second longer. Crypto was never in better spot, and educating yourself is something that can separate you from the rest. So I would suggest watching one of the 2 videos you see on the screen right now. And of course, if you found this video helpful, make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to Bitcoin Academy. Best of luck, and see you in my next video.